Alright, so we have some leftover walleye from last night, and we're going to have a great recipe now for what to do with that leftover walleye. We've removed the skin, and a nice large flake on all of our cooked leftover fillets. And we also have, for our walleye cake recipe, some crab. This crab is optional. This is all back meat. You certainly can exclude this. You'll just need to double the amount of walleye that you do use. We're going to begin first though by adding all of our other ingredients and seasonings into the pan so that when we mix them we don't break up the walleye too much. So we're going to start with some mayonnaise, and you're going to want to use some nice heavy duty mayonnaise. 2 large eggs. And some Dijon mustard or other spicy brown mustards that you may want to use. Our dried seasoning, we have a nice 7-pepper blend here. A tablespoon of Tabasco. Some lemon juice. Worcestershire sauce. Old Bay seasoning. Some dried parsley. If this is summertime, fresh is absolutely acceptable. And some kosher salt. And just before we add our breadcrumbs, we're going to mix this in to kind of break up and emulsify those eggs into the mayonnaise and Dijon. And here we have some panko breadcrumbs. This is a Japanese rice breadcrumb. It is gluten-free, so it helps with that. They're really light, really crispy. This panko will add some body to the walleye cakes. Okay, and now we're going to want to switch over to a spatula so we can fold in our walleye so we don't break things up too much. We keep it nice and chunky. Remember to keep everything nice and cold. You don't want this getting too warm on you, or again the fish will start to break down. And another pound of crab. And we'll just keep folding this in. If you find your mixture to be a little too dry or a little too wet, if it's too dry, add some Dijon or some mustard back to it. If it's a little too wet, add another 1/4 cup of those panko Japanese breadcrumbs. All right. Once we get it mixed up, we're going to cover it in plastic and let it rest in the refrigerator overnight to let all those flavors come together. All right, we've let our walleye cakes rest overnight in the refrigerator, and the flavors have really come together well. You can see we've got that plastic down nice and tight while it was in the refrigerator to keep the air from getting there and oxidizing any of the flavors. We're just going to remove that. We're going to begin making patties. I have here a pan-sprayed pan. So that none of the walleye cakes stick to the pan, we can easily pick them up. I like to make nice, thick walleye cakes. You can tell we still have really large pieces of meat in there. There's enough binder that these are going to hold together. But as you can tell, I like to keep them a good 3/4 of an inch thick. It's going to allow you to really create a nice crisp outside and still have really soft, buttery inside texture. And just continue to go through and make as many cakes as you can out of your mix and set them up and cover again with plastic. Now to saute these walleye cakes, we're going to begin by using about 1/4 pound of butter added to about 3/4 of a cup of olive oil. This olive oil is going to help keep that butter from smoking out and burning, and the butter's just there for excellent flavor. We're going to let this melt down, kind of warm up. Again, our heat doesn't need to be too high. When browning, it's always best to use a nice medium or even a low heat so that you don't overcook any side of the walleye cake. Okay, now we're going to begin adding our walleye cakes to the hot butter and oil mixture. It's great to use a spatula for this. Always placing them in real nice and slow. We're not going to want to move them around a lot once they do get in there. You can see we have a really fair amount of oil and butter in here. You really want to help crisp up that bottom 1/8 inch or 16 inch of the walleye cake so you get a nice crisp shell. Helps to hold in a lot of the moisture. Try to keep them evenly spaced. I could probably get one more in this pan and that'll be about it. It's always okay to work in batches. As long as you keep your heat nice and low and allow the browning to take a little more time, don't go too quickly. It'll brown up regardless of the temperature, just take a little more time. So we're gonna let these go. It's probably gonna take about 5 minutes for each side. Always remember when flipping in a pan that has a lot of oil in it, try to fold your item away from you, never towards you, so that you splash this hot oil away from you if you should drop your item. We still have our flame on a medium heat. Careful not to scorch our olive and butter oil mix. All right, these have had about 5 minutes. We're just gonna test, make sure they are starting to come away from the pan on their own. Remove these from the heat. Nice and easy, setting them on our platter for service. One of my favorite sides with these walleye cakes is asparagus. I love to cook it right in the pan that we seared our walleye cakes off in. First, just need to take some of the brown bits that might have fallen off the walleye cakes and get those out. You can leave a few in there, that's fine, it's good flavor. This butter and oil is gonna do wonders to this asparagus. We'll turn it to the oven for some heat. Okay, our asparagus is done now. We're just gonna pull it out, move to our serving platter, take it to the table for service. What we're really looking for here is this nice crispy texture on the outside, but nice and soft and tender. Really should fall apart on the inside. Wonderful.